Walters is open at a special time this Sunday for brunch, 9:30 a.m. due to the early Nats game. To learn more about their bottomless brunch, visit waltersdc.com.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Now the kick, here it comes. Swinging a ground ball, base hit down the right field line. That'll score one run. It'll score another. Ramos coming to the plate. The throw's not in time, and it's not backed up. And it goes out of play into the camera well, the home plate end of the Giants dugout. That will bring home another run. 3-run score on the play. A 2-run single for Mark Canha. And then the throw from the right fielder, Alex Call, coming toward the plate a bit up the line. Finnegan did not back up, and the Nationals pay for that. It's now San Francisco 5 and Washington 2. 2 out, bottom of the ninth, 5-2 Giants. Doval to the belt. The kick and the pitch. Swing and a fly ball. Left field. Conforto into the corner. Way back at the wall. It is gone! Goodbye! An opposite field. 3-run home run for Luis Garcia Jr. And this game is tied.
1 ball, 1 strike to Conforto. Here's the pitch. Swing a little looper left field. It's going to dunk in for a base hit. It's going to score 2 runs. Yastrzemski and Wisely cross the plate. Bailey holds at second. Conforto's flare into left makes it 8-5. And now the Nationals have paid big time for their defensive miscues in this inning.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Friday, August 9th. 2024, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. What a day of baseball at Nationals Park on Thursday afternoon. The Nats lost to the San Francisco Giants 9-5 in 10 innings to lose the series 3-1, but how we got to that 9-5 10-inning final was something. This was a game that featured 2 rain delays that totaled 2 hours and 2 minutes. The game itself lasted for 3 hours and 26 minutes. First pitch was at 12:05 p.m. The game did not end until 5:33 p.m. There was a rain delay in the top of the 3rd. There was a rain delay in the top of the 8th. The game was tied at 2 going into the 9th. The Nats and Giants then combined to score 10 runs over the next 3 half innings from the top of the 9th through the top of the 10th. The Nats in this game overcame a 5-2 9th inning deficit, but the Nats in this game allowed 7 runs over the 9th and 10th innings. Got all of that? The Nats for this regular season now 52-64. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Window Nation. Call Window Nation at 866-90-NATION to learn more about the $250 credit that Window Nation is currently offering for its anniversary sale. Mark, this game was a mess weather-wise. The game, in a lot of ways, became a mess for the Nats otherwise. Yet another valiant comeback effort by the Nats. Yet another homer by Luis Garcia Jr. But geez, a lengthy day, a lot to process from this day at Nationals Park.
There's a lot to talk about here, Al, and some of it is actually quite good. But I want to start with the defense. And the defense in this game was atrocious by the Nationals, especially in those last 2 innings. Now, I understand the conditions were not ideal. You're dealing with a wet ball, a wet field, everything else. But the Giants managed to make the plays they needed to make to win the game. And the sequence of events that we saw from the Nationals, especially in the 10th inning, 3 straight batted balls they couldn't do anything with, and really botched in a lot of ways, I think was really emblematic, unfortunately, of this team that we've talked about. While at times you think they could be good defensively, they still rank near the bottom in a lot of categories. And how many times have we seen them get to a late game situation, especially extra innings? They're now 3-8 in extra innings, and just not execute what they need to do to finish out a game. This is that crucial next step they have to take to learn how to win these kind of games. It was right there for the taking, and they handed it away in the 10th inning. And this was not Robert Garcia's fault, I don't think. This was defense across the board in the 10th inning, some of the worst we've seen this year.
We, on the last installment of the podcast, talked about how it's kind of hard to truly assess what the Nats are defensively. Like, are they good? Are they not good? If you go by the metrics, they're not good. If you go by the eye test, you say to yourself, well, they're not that bad, are they? But, the more that we see, the more that I think you have to come to grips with the likelihood of this just is not a very good defensive team. There are individuals who are good, but the overall body of work is not good. The numbers back that up. I think it's always a little dicey to assess defense with the eye test. Our eyes are misleading. Our eyes don't always take everything in. Our eyes aren't comparing what this guy is doing versus what everyone else across the majors at that guy's position are doing. And the defense in this game really sloppy. 4 Nationals errors in this game, 0 for the Giants. And you go through the 4 errors by the Nats in this game. So one was by one of the 6 relievers utilized by the Nats in this game. Eduardo Salazar, top of the 4th, throwing error on a pickoff attempt. But over the 9th and 10th innings, 3 costly errors by the Nats. We will get to the latest difficult outing for Kyle Finnegan. But he, in what ended up being a disastrous top of the 9th, gave up a 2-out opposite field, 3-run double by Mark Canha into right field on a 1-2 pitch, and 3 runs scored on the play. Thanks to a throwing error by right fielder Alex Gall. He made a throw that was way wide of home, and the ball went into the camera well. Why? Because Kyle Finnegan was not backing up the play. Then, Robert Garcia officially allowed 4 runs, all of which were unearned in 1 inning. He, in what ended up being a 4-run 10th for the Giants, was charged with 4 unearned runs. The Nats in the inning committed 2 errors, a throwing error by shortstop C.J. Abrams and a missed catch error by third baseman Ildemaro Vargas. Abrams on a leadoff grounder by Mike Yastrzemski threw to third base to try to get the automatic runner, but the throw was wide of the bag. And Vargas simply did not catch what sure looked like a good throw by Garcia off him fielding a bunt by Patrick Bailey with runners on first and second and no outs. Which of the defensive miscues by the Nats in this game was the most egregious, in your opinion?
I think it's the Vargas non-catch there. There's just no excuse for that. The Abrams play, good play, smart play. He had him. And in extra innings, I think you take that chance to get the lead runner, and he just threw it a little offline. And so that cost them. The call error, it is an error on him, and it's probably a case where you say, was it worth it to try to throw that second runner out or not? But the real mistake was Finnegan. And you watch that. He gives up the hit. Now, I understand you're 1 strike away from getting out of a bases loaded jam in a tie game. You make what you think is a good pitch up out of the zone, and the guy just finds a way to hit it to the right spot past the first baseman. You need a second to process that, I'm sure. But he went down to a knee in frustration over that. And by the time he finally got back up, it was way too late to back up the play. You can't let that happen in that moment. And so the Vargas drop is kind of the easiest play of them all. And how do you not make that play? But the lack of covering, of backing up the play, is really egregious. And then the other play, and it's not an error, but in the middle of all that in the 10th inning was the squeeze play that got the runner home.
He does square, and he bunts it past the mound. A beautiful bunt. Yepes a diving pickup, and he's got no play to make.
The Nats acted like they'd never even occurred to them that might happen in that spot. Well, if anybody should be expecting the possibility of a squeeze play, it is the Washington Nationals, because they do it themselves all the time. How can you get caught so flat-footed in that moment? And I get it. It was well executed. I don't know there was really much of anything they could have done there. But the way they reacted to it was like they never in a million years thought that might be coming there. And it just added to the ugliness of that 10th inning.
There is such irony with the Nats being bad at these little things, because what does Davey Martinez preach all of the time? The little things. And yet the Nats defensively, not good. The Nats make all of these outs on the base paths. I don't know if Davey is trying to speak something into existence that he know is not in existence, but this team is not good at the little things, even though the manager is constantly pounding the drum of the little things. There also was this with the Nats defensively in this game, and this becomes kind of a forgotten moment in the game with everything that ended up happening. But James Wood, so he in this game was the Nats starting left fielder and number 5 batter. He went 1 for 3 with a single and a walk. But what I want to focus on with Wood here is what happened with him at the top of the 4th, during which he essentially failed to take charge on what ended up being a leadoff double by Jackson Reitz. So Reitz sent a fly ball into shallow left field, but Wood, instead of doing as an outfielder should in that predicament, taking charge, right? You're the one coming in, not going back, allowed shortstop C.J. Abrams to attempt to make what would have been a really difficult catch. Abrams tried to make this over-the-shoulder basket catch, and at the same time was trying to avoid crashing into Wood, and so the ball ended up dropping for what went down as a leadoff double by Jackson Reitz. Now, we get it. James Wood, in the minors didn't play a lot of left field, did play some, but, primarily played center field and right field, but he has not looked comfortable in left field. And, yes, he primarily played center and right, but left field is the easiest of the 3 outfield positions. If you can play center, you should be able to play left. I don't necessarily love that the Nats are trying to force him into left with him having not played much in left, but at the same time, if you can play center, you should be able to make the adjustment to left. What the Nats are asking Wood to do is not, something that, you can't comprehend. So he's having a tough time defensively, and that was a bad-looking moment for him in this game.
Yeah, 100%. And here's the thing. The different positions, it might be different about how you read the ball off the bat or certain angles of things and maybe certain throws. I don't care what outfield position you play. You should know how to call off an infielder on a pop-up. That's routine no matter if you're playing left, center, or right. And his, lackadaisical, I guess I'm going to call it that, route to the ball or lack of urgency to get to the ball. And then, as you said, it's exactly what it is. He's not taking charge. Even though he didn't sprint to it, he's still there and in a position to make the play. And if you're C.J. Abrams, you're waiting to be called off, and you get to a certain point that you don't hear anything from him. And now you call it yourself and try to make an even tougher play, and the ball falls in. And it's not like this is the first time. We've seen this several times now. He really does not look comfortable out there. And, I can excuse certain things that are a product of inexperience or of learning a new position on the fly like he's trying to do. But plays like that, any outfielder needs to know how to do that. And any outfielder needs to be aggressive in going after that ball and calling off your infielder. This is basic stuff. And so it's really disappointing. Look, he's done a lot of really good things. And the bigger picture, there's a lot of reason to be excited about James Wood. But this has been a glaring issue since he got up here, and a surprising one. I don't think any of us really saw this coming.
Hey guys, Al Galdi here for Window Nation. The 2024 MLB trade deadline may have passed, but that doesn't mean that there isn't still a great deal to be had. Window Nation, for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast, is offering a sensational deal. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, plus you get an additional $250 credit. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation windows are outstanding. Window Nation is the true window expert. Window Nation's professional installation teams have over 10 years of experience. Every Window Nation window undergoes a 50-point inspection before leaving the Window Nation factory. 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. take advantage of this offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years, plus an additional $250 credit. 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90NATION or windownation.com, and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Here's the set, the 0-2. Swinging a ground ball up the middle, base hit into center field. Bailey rounding third, trying to score. Young comes up throwing. It's cut off by Yepez. Bailey slides in, and the Giants lead 9-5. And the Giants have played at 4 here in the 10th.
So the Nats' bad defense in this game was part of what ended up being a wild game for the Nats bullpen. 6 Nats relievers combined to allow 7 runs, 2 earned, in 7 1/3 innings. Think about that final line for the bullpen. 6 relievers, 7 runs, 2 earned in 7 1/3 innings. What's so funny about this is that the first 3 relievers used by the Nats in this game were great. For a while, it looked like the story of this game might end up being how great the Nats bullpen was. Eduardo Salazar tossed 1 1/3 scoreless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. Jacob Barnes tossed 2 scoreless innings with 3 swinging strikeouts. Derek Law tossed 2 scoreless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. And it wasn't just that. He completed the top of the 8th after the game's second rain delay, which lasted for about 70 minutes. So Salazar, Barnes, and Law combined for 5 1/3 shutout innings with 7 swinging strikeouts. Outstanding. But then came Kyle Finnegan into the game, and he was bad again. Finnegan allowed 3 runs, 2 earned in 2/3 of an inning. He in the top of the 9th faced 6 batters, but got just 2 outs. So he gave up a 1-out first pitch single by Tyler Fitzgerald to left field. And then came what I thought in a lot of ways did Finnegan in, these 2 1-out walks, these back-to-back 1-out walks. Finnegan issued a 1-out 7-pitch walk of Elliot Ramos despite having had him down in the count at one point, 0-2. Finnegan then issued a 1-out 9-pitch walk of Michael Conforto despite having had him down in the count at one point, 0-2. Failing to put away each guy despite each guy having been down 0-2. Then came that aforementioned double by Mark Canha, 3-run scoring thanks in part to the throwing error by Alex Call. And then that was it. Davey Martinez pulled Finnegan from the game. Finnegan now is allowed at least 1 earned run in 3 of his last 5 appearances. Then we had Robert Garcia coming into the game. Like I mentioned earlier, 4 runs, all of which were unearned in 1 inning. He did deal with the errors by Abrams and Vargas, but Garcia did give up a 2-out, bases loaded, opposite field 2-run single by Michael Conforto on a blooper to left field for an 8-5 Giants lead. And then Yohan Adon came into the game. He officially tossed a third of a scoreless inning. He in that 4-run 10th faced 2 batters, got 1 out, but he to the first batter he faced gave up a 2-out RBI single by Matt Chapman up the middle on an 0-2 pitch for a 9-5 Giants lead. From a pitching perspective, I think what sticks with me is Finnegan. That was a bad outing for him.
Yeah, so he did mention, and it's fair to point out that the conditions were not good at that point in the game. It was raining. They're trying to play through it. The ball's wet. He said it pretty much eliminated his splitter. He could not get the proper grip on it or feel comfortable throwing it. And you saw him struggle too. And that I think that led in some part to the walks. But I think the concern there, and this isn't just about this game, but in a broader sense, is if he's just relying on his fastball, while he throws it hard, it does get hit. And that's a problem. And I think he's got to be able to have something else he can turn to. He's been mostly fastball splitter, but sometimes he leaves the splitter up. That was the big blown save in Arizona. Came on a splitter up in the zone. And so it's really that third pitch, the slider, that I think he needs to develop more confidence in, or it's just not going to work. The fastball, again, it's good. He throws it hard, but he's got to be very precise with it. And when he's not, it gets hit pretty hard. And so in a game like this, when you lose one of the two pitches basically that you throw, and now you've got to rely on fastballs, it puts him in a bad spot. And I'm sure by the time he gets to, I think it was a 2-2 count on Mark Canha probably knows what's coming at that point. You can gear up for a good fastball. Good big league hitters can do something with it. So in a bigger picture, I do have some concerns about that. There, as many strides as Finnegan has taken in the last calendar year, I still think there's another stride he needs to take to become more well-balanced as a pitcher, to have more in his arsenal than he does.
And as happened in that implosion in Arizona, he had multiple batters down, 0-2, 1-2, whatever the case, and he couldn't put them away. And that was a big problem for him in that outing at the Diamondbacks, and that was a big problem in this outing on Thursday afternoon. I mean, the grip may not have been great, but he had these guys down 0-2. Like, he did do that much, and then he ends up walking those guys. And when he did that, you said to yourself, oh boy, here we go. And indeed, there we went.
And that's the third pitch that you need in that spot, a put-away pitch, so that even if you want to go to a fastball with two strikes, if the hitter has to worry about something coming in slower, maybe they don't time it up as well. When he throws everything hard, it, I think, is allowing hitters, the longer these innings go, the longer the at-bats go, to time him up. And so I really think, and it's probably going to have to happen over the winter, he's got to develop some faith in a third pitch, in an off-speed pitch, whether it's a slider or something else that comes in far lower velocity than the fastball, and that will in turn make the fastball, I think, more effective.
Now, a lot was asked of the Nats bullpen in this game. Heck, a lot has been asked of the Nats bullpen this season, but the Nats starting pitcher for this 9-5-10 inning loss to the Giants on Thursday afternoon was DJ Herz. He allowed 2 runs in 2 2/3 innings. Now, he actually returned to pitch after the first rain delay, which lasted for about 50 minutes, but Herz had a really hard time throwing strikes, although he did have a good number of strikeouts, which was kind of odd. But Herz, over his 2 2/3 innings, issued a whopping 4 walks. He threw a whopping 74 pitches, just 39 strikes versus 35 balls. He gave up 4 hits, which were 2 doubles and 2 singles. He did record 4 strikeouts, but take it to the top of the first, Herz in that inning allowed a run on a leadoff double and 3 walks, including a 2-out bases loaded 4-pitch walk of Gerard Encarnacion for a 1-0 Giants lead. So there certainly was the control issue for Herz. But how about the fact in this game we had not one but 2 Nats pitchers, each of whom returned to pitch after a rain delay? It's rare that you get that happening with one pitcher in a game. We had that with 2 Nats pitchers in this game.
And in both cases, I think pretty remarkable. If it's Patrick Corbin, not as big a deal, 50-minute rain delay. But for a rookie like DJ Herz, I did think that was pretty notable. What Derek Law did, I don't think I've ever seen that before from a reliever. He's already thrown 1 complete inning. He starts a second inning, then has more than a 1-hour rain delay and comes back to finish that inning that he started. And this is a guy who already is being relied on a ton, probably more than anybody else in the current bullpen. They use him a lot. And I know he's had his issues with inherited runners this year, but I think you take a step back and think in the bigger picture, I think he's done a pretty good job for them, especially as much as they ask of him on seems like a daily basis. He's actually been pretty invaluable to them in their bullpen. And as far as Herz goes, the other thing to keep in mind, that first inning, 3 walks. Well, one of the strikeouts should not have been a strikeout. There was an egregiously called strike 3 on Canha, actually, by Stu Sherwater, and it got Bob Melvin ejected from the game. Sherwater had as bad of a game as the Nationals defense did. He was all over the place with his strike zone. So he bailed Herz out. That could have been even worse. A first inning in which he ended up throwing 38 pitches. Yet again, a Nats starter well over the 30 pitch mark in the first inning. This cannot sustain itself. It's a problem, and it's got to be corrected.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with multi-view, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action, make your Sundays more magical, and also YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is,
"Thank you for calling. Please listen to your list of 46 possible service options."
which is why when you choose USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable. 24/7 online service for claims, access to roadside assistance, and more. All at the touch of a button. Start getting the service you deserve. Get a quote today. Ability to receive a quote depends on membership eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Here's your AAA report for the game played on Thursday. Dylan Cruz back in center field, 0 for 3 with a walk in the leadoff spot. Jose Tena, 0 for 4 while playing second. Andres Chaparro went yard for the 3rd consecutive game, also had a single. And Brady House was back at third base, 0 for 4 in the loss. Now back to the show.
Here's the set. Harrison the pitch. And a soft swing and a little liner into left field. Going to drop in for a hit. Cole around third. He's coming home. Up with the ball is Conforto. There'll be no play. Cole scores. The game is tied on K-Bear Ruiz. Kind of a half swing blooper into left. Drops in for a base hit. And his 38th run batted into the year.
Well, the Nats offense in this game, 5 runs, 7 hits, which were a home run and 6 singles, 3 walks, 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The Nats scored a run in the bottom of the first, a run in the bottom of the 5th, and 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th. And just to bottom line this, the offense essentially was bad with the exception of one moment. Luis Garcia Jr. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 8 batter, 2 for 4 with a 3-run homer and a single. And he had a stolen base. Garcia in that Nats 1-run 5th, a leadoff single to center field and to steal a second base. And Garcia in the Nats 3-run 9th, a game-tying 2-out opposite field 3-run homer to left field on a 1-2 pitch to tie the game at 5. Now, the homer had a projected distance of just 351 feet per Statcast. But hey, a home run is a home run. And what a home run that was. The Nats were down to their last strike. I mean, you think about the visual here. Pouring rain, down to your last strike. Garcia hits a 3-run homer to tie the game. Like, this is the kind of thing that's in a movie. I mean, I get it. You know, this is not Game 7 of the World Series, but still, pretty dramatic moment, just if you like, take that moment as a snapshot. And, you know, bigger picture, the surge of Luis Garcia Jr. continues. He got the start in this game despite the Nats facing a left-handed starting pitcher. Now, the homer came against a righty reliever, but Luis Garcia Jr. now for this regular season, number 1 among all qualified Nats players in OPS at 787. He's got that bad boy approaching 800 at this point. And while the Nats did end up losing the game, man, what a clutch homer by Luis Garcia Jr.
Just the latest in a string of big moments for him, and it keeps growing, and it's been so nice to see this. And look, he got the a clutch hit off the lefty earlier in the game, a really nice at bat, and then stole second and put himself in position to score a couple batters later. So this was a good game beyond even the home run for him. He said he really didn't think he got enough on that ball. He was not expecting it, but he just kept watching Conforto go back to the wall, further back. Next thing you know, it's over the fence, and you could see the joy and the celebration he had as he rounded first base. That's maybe the biggest hit of his career. It's up there, certainly. And yeah, it's against a righty, but that guy is one of the toughest righties around, Camilo Doval. It was on a cutter with 2 strikes. You're seeing the maturation from Luis Garcia. He talked about how he had seen him earlier in the series, had a sense of what to look for. You're just seeing a much better approach from him. It all comes together for him in a moment like that. And you just hope he keeps this up, because this has really become impressive. And one of the biggest stories of the season, I think, now at this point is what Luis Garcia has done, given where he started coming out of spring training to where he is now.
Yeah, I mean, his slugging percentage now is ahead of C.J. Abrams. Garcia's on-base percentage now is ahead of C.J. Abrams. To call Luis Garcia Jr. the Nats' best offensive player this season is not, a stretch at this point. And very happy to see him get the start against a left-handed starting pitcher, albeit as a number 8 batter, but okay. And Garcia rewarded Davey Martinez with that 2-hit game. And then also want to mention Keibert Ruiz, another solid offensive game for him. So keep it coming, Keibert. He is the Nats starting catcher at number 4 batter, 1 for 3 with an RBI single and a walk. Keibert in the Nats 1-run first, a 2-out first pitch RBI single to left field for a 1-0 Nats lead. And Keibert in the Nats 3-run ninth drew a leadoff walk. We've talked about this, like every Nats game, it feels like ends up being close. This game, of course, ends up being no different. The other common denominator, though, it feels like with these Nats games now, we've hit on this a little bit recently, but coming back, wild affairs, violent swings in terms of the score, violent swings in terms of win probabilities throughout the game. There is like a cardiac nature to this Nats team to where, while it may not be a good team, it does give you exciting games to watch. Like if you're into drama, you do get that with this Nats team this season.
Sure. And I think there's a good quality in there that shows they have the ability you should have had all the air sucked out of the building after the 3-run hit off of Finnegan, and instead facing a really good closer, 2 good at bats to draw walks by Ruiz and Travis Blankenhorn drawing a walk, kind of got lost in the shuffle there. And then the great at bat from Garcia. So that's all really good stuff. But here's, like I said earlier in the show, here's that next step that they really have to take. They got to learn how to win these games, and not just win them, but how to play better when it really matters at the end. And I'm talking about extra innings. They're now 3-8 in extra innings. This was a problem a year or two ago, I think, as well. Ever since the automatic runner rule was put in play, they've been really, really bad in extra innings. And I don't think this is coincidence. I think there are some recurring themes here. You see them get sloppy in the field, for one. You see relievers not able to put away hitters. And offensively, they do not execute very often, in spite of the fact that you have an automatic runner in scoring position. I understand you're down 4 runs again by the time you get to the 10th. But you rallied once. You're not facing their closer anymore. And what do you get in the 10th inning? A ground ball to short and 2 strikeouts. This is an area they still need to improve upon. And I think that's going to be this really big next step for them as an organization to make over the rest of this season and certainly going into next year. How to win close ball games late. It's one thing to battle. It's very nice to see them be able to come back very often and actually, tie the game or even take the lead. But you got to finish the job. And I think that's a step that they have not learned how to do yet.
Yeah, and also with the defensive miscues, Abrams and Vargas, you think of them as 2 of the Nats' better defenders. Even though, again, some of the metrics would tell you otherwise about Abrams. But for those 2 guys to commit those errors in those spots, as was the case, that was disappointing too. It wasn't, someone who's known for being bad defensively necessarily making those errors. It was 2 guys who Davey Martinez, we know, trusts defensively. So next up for the Nats is a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Angels at Nationals Park. Anthony Rendon coming back to Nats Park as an opposing player. Game 1 Friday evening, 6:45. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2 Saturday evening at 6:45. Patrick Corbin will be the Nats starting pitcher. And Game 3 Sunday morning at 11:35. That's a Roku game. Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher. And man, the Nats do have an off day on Monday, and I'm sure Davey Martinez is looking forward to that from a bullpen preservation standpoint. This bullpen is being leaned on so much. I know there was only so much that you could do with this game on Thursday afternoon, given the rain and given that DJ Hurst lasted for less than 3 innings. But this is tricky, what Davey's trying to do here. Every game, 4, 5, 6 relievers. We're seeing a lot of the same guys used over and over again. We've talked about the Nats' lack of, shall we say, optionable relievers. So you don't see a lot of back and forth between Rochester and the major league level in terms of relief pitching. And this is a tightrope that Davey Martinez is having to walk with this bullpen right now.
Yeah, we'll see if maybe they have to make a move out of necessity to get through Friday's game, although the forecast, again, is not very good. So while they had no choice but to do everything they could to play on Thursday because it's the last game of a series, less pressure on Friday, maybe more motivation to call a game off early if it looks like it's going to be that bad, knowing you could play 2 on Saturday if necessary. I don't think that's their first choice, but if they had to, they could. But here's the real issue right now. They need more quality starts. And I'm not just talking about like the literal definition of a quality start. They just need more decent outings from their starters. Their last 4, none in this series against the Giants, came close to that. The best outing wound up being Patrick Corbin giving up 4 runs in 6 innings, and that was the disaster of the first inning by him. Their last decent start was last Sunday against the Brewers, and it was by Mitchell Parker, who goes on Friday. That was his 6th scoreless, and even in that one, it wasn't like a perfectly clean, dominant outing. It was good results from him. They've got to get back to not necessarily dominant starts, but just giving some length, keeping the pitch count down, giving your team a chance, and taking some of the pressure off the bullpen. I know as ugly as the 9th and 10th innings were in this game, this was shaping up to be one of their best bullpen efforts in a while. The guys who got the ball to the 9th really did a fantastic job under the circumstances. And it's a shame it gets wasted, especially when you used up as many of them that now may not be available to pitch again on Friday.
This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Window Nation. Call Window Nation 866-90Nation to learn more about the $250 credit that Window Nation is currently offering for its anniversary sale. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website that you can check out too, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
Trenton Wallace makes his Salem Field debut as Chaparro drills one to straightaway center. Clase going back at the track, at the wall. It's gone to the deepest part of the ballpark. Andres Chaparro's 2nd home run of the day, and it's now 5-3 Bisons here in the 7th.